Hello and happy Friday Eve from those of us at Radically Rational and radicallyrational.com. Yeah, I'm a sucker. I admit it. It's NFL full schedule announcement night, and I could not be more excited. It doesn't take much. Here's why. It gets real. Once the schedule's out there and you can make plans and you're anticipating a particular ball games, at that point we are rushing downhill at breakneck speed toward the 2022 season, and that makes me happy. And the NFL does this masterful job of just doling out these appetizers before the full announcement. And we learned last night, Cowboys at Packers in week 10. That'll be the first meeting between those teams since 2019. So they're going to play at Lambeau. So that would mean the return of Mike McCarthy, wouldn't it? Until BB brilliantly reminds me, are you sure that Mike McCarthy is still going to be the coach of the Cowboys in week 10? Excellently played, BB. I like that just a great deal. Been thinking about college football because I do that a lot. Folks, I'm not being an alarmist here. And as the current president would say, this is not hyperbole. We may not even recognize this sport as soon as a year from now, if not sooner. And speaking of the current president, I think he said that's not hyperbole 6 times in a 15-minute speech yesterday. It has been suggested by the 80-year-old David Gergen that perhaps President Biden has lost a step and that perhaps he's too old and a step slow to be president. I don't know that I'm going to describe it as unfit, but we've all seen examples of that. So what this means is he's going to be a one-term president, one way or the other. The question is, where do we go from there? But I spent some time yesterday criticizing President Biden. Let me praise him for this. There are no guarantees going forward, and I'm very much aware of that. But to date, he has handled the United States business with respect to what is going on in Ukraine perfectly, brilliantly, not just competently. He has been one step ahead the entire time. This has been extremely well played from that standpoint. And yeah, I'll say it, I shudder to think how this would be handled currently if the former president were still president. Biden has done a good job with that. All right, it's back to the future. Here we go again, Groundhog Day. There is another huge wave of COVID coming. And we're going to have to make up our minds about how we're going to handle this. This is what the current information suggests, that we may have 100 million new cases of COVID this fall and winter. It is true that the efficacy of the current vaccines is waning. You know, we've said really since the advent of the vaccines that the idea was to keep you out of the hospital and above the dirt. That's still the idea. The new numbers, however, suggest that we may not be as protected as we thought. Now, that's not a scientific failure, so stop with that. Stop with scientists don't know what they're talking. Yeah, they do. And you know what you know when you know it, and you confront something when you confront it. So we were able to develop vaccines that at that time were incredibly effective at keeping you out of the hospital and out of the morgue. We may have to readjust that, but at the same time, this idea that it's back to life to normal and that we as private citizens don't have to take any mitigation measures is really misguided and could throw us right back into the soup. I want to close with a brief movie review, and I hope you'll go over to my blog at radicallyrational.com for the whole thing. Saw something last night that just made my heart sail. It was just great. I don't know if you've heard about this or you've seen it, but the animated movie, Apollo 10 and a half, it is nothing short of brilliant. This was debuted at South by Southwest in Austin back in March. It is a Linklater production. It is brilliant animation. This is what it's about. It's about a kid growing up in Houston during the space race and the ramp up to the Apollo program and to Apollo 11. And it's brilliantly done in terms of documenting that. But beyond that, it screams Houston. The animation is just so beautiful. Yeah, baby, that's Rice Stadium. Yeah, that's the Astrodome. That's Astro World. Those are big ass mosquitoes. It was absolutely wonderful. It was inspiring for both me and for Joe because we were both born in Houston. And we have kind of differing views of the city, but all we saw last night was smiles. So I hope, first of all, that you will see the movie. You will absolutely enjoy it. It's brilliant. But also, if you don't mind, if you got a minute, go over to the blog, radicallyrational.com. That's what this morning's blog is about. Have a great Thursday. We're Radically Rational.